during my visit to your university. During that days, I was in Saigon Prince Hotel, and then I was walking by that particular road, and I saw a lot of brands there. So if you want to use, for example, Uniqlo as a brand, you want to use that example. You want to use an example, for example, Hugo Boss, for example, they have shop there. Or if you want to use example from, let's say, Chanel, for example. So those are the brands you can see, right? You can see those brands in front of your eyes, you in front of the places, the Saigon, near the Saigon Prince Hotel, that particular road, the middle road, you can see those brands. So if you want to use those examples, why not? Please use it. But all I'm requesting, you use real example, real company, real example, because that's how you make it really attractive, because that's how you make it like, yes, I know this organization, I know these places, I want to use that as a real example, and that's how I want to explain the strategy. That's how that company I want to use when I will be answering the question. So definitely, Han, you can definitely do that, and I will appreciate. But everyone, please do not use hypothetical XYZ example, or don't do a made up story, because if you do a made up story, that will be a horrible thing. Try to relate, like, I mean, something you saw on YouTube, something you are familiar with. Those sort of example will make sense. Those sort of example will help you significantly. Han, is there any other question? Or anyone else? Any other question? Your assignment, final exam. When is the assignment due? What's the submission deadline of the assignment? 14th of July. Okay. All right. So today is like, what's the date today? It's 15th of July. So technically you have 1 month to complete your assignment. So exactly 1 month. So it's 15th of July, and then 14th of July um, is your assignment due. Now, guys, there will be one more lecture, one more online lecture, which will be on topic. But then I have planned, like, I want to do a revision class and a question and answer session class. So what do you think? When you want that? Like, before your assignment submission or after your assignment submission, only for final exam? Like, when you want that? When you want your revision class? What do you think? I mean, I'm fine. I can design something. I can deliver. So it's up to you actually when you want your revision class. Any idea? Anyone want to propose anything? Guys? Come on, talk. When you want your revision class? Anyone? Any idea? Or you don't want revision class? Do you think 9th of July is a good time? 9th of July? Before or after writing? So, hi, yeah, I mean, 9th of July, we can do the revision class. And because as I said, we have another lecture, which is something I can arrange in the next 10 days. By this month, there will be one more lecture, which is the online class. And then 9th of July, we can organize the revision class. Are you happy with that, guys? Are you happy with that?
Okay.
Perfect. Okay, just bear with me. No, not Sunday. Tran, it's not Sunday. 9th of July is 9th of July. It's a Thursday. 9th of July is a Thursday. It's not Sunday. So no, we are not going to do that on a Sunday. I think that's your weekend. Why you want to study on a weekend? Chill. You should go to kind of party or meet friends and go here and there on the weekend. Why you want to study on the weekend? Come on. Can we take place at night? For example, 8 p.m. in Vietnam. Then what will be the UK time? Tell me the UK time, not the Vietnamese time. I mean, I can organize something, but I thought of like that will be difficult. So, oh wow, Nat, I can see your cat. That's lovely. That's amazing. Wow, that's really nice. Yeah, hi, cat. That's really lovely. So, guys, so everyone, Anne mentioned whether we can do evening class. We can do 1 p.m., but guys, I mean, are you guys happy? Everyone, do you want a class like at night time? At 8 p.m., do you want that? Because, yeah, I can understand, but I mean, I think the university will not allow me to kind of deliver a class after 5 p.m. because that's not official. Anything has to be official, so it has to be like from morning to evening. So your university might come to me and say why I am delivering evening class. So yeah, I can completely understand, Fran, your situation. 9 to 7, we have another class. I can understand, Fran. I completely understand, Fran. But we just only have only 2 classes, and that's all. We will be done. So I mean, just write me an email, like what you really want. But it's difficult. I just simply cannot satisfy everyone. Some of you will be happy if the class is like this time. Some of you might find it difficult if the class is like on a classes like in the evening. So I really don't know. It's difficult for me. I'm so sorry. I really don't know. So you guys please discuss between each other. And some of you already on my Instagram and LinkedIn, and please let me know which particular time suits everyone. I mean, I'm fine. Tran, from my point of view, UK afternoon is absolutely fine for me. I can do it in UK afternoon time. I'm fine, absolutely fine from my end. What I am saying, are you guys, all of you are happy with that or not? Because I have to ensure majority of you are fully happy with the time you want to propose. So yeah. Yeah, someone wanted to talk. Please unmute and talk. You can. You can unmute and talk. No problem. So I need to know whether all of you are happy. So please discuss between each other, and you can get in touch with me anytime, through email, through Instagram or LinkedIn. Just let me know what you want. But all of you have to be happy with the timing, and then yes, yeah, yeah. Uh, Hi, I understand. I completely understand your situation, but all of the student has to be happy with the timing. Only then we can kind of do something. Yeah. All right, let's continue. Let's continue. So, the first point about resource allocation, we talked about a bit about resource allocation, but think about, I mean, when you are running an organization, when you are sort of in charge of, let's say, for example, a particular division or a particular company, and you have, like, think about it, you have, let's say, 1 billion dong in your organization, and you have like multiple departments to run. You have sales departments, you have procurement, you have logistics and distribution, you have R&D, you have multiple departments. Now, as a CEO, it is your responsibility to allocate the resource to every single department. Think about a government. Now, the government, they do not have infinite resource. They have to allocate the budget for health, for road and infrastructure, for defense, for homeland security, for foreign investment. Every single thing must come from a pool of budget. Think realistically. Do you think you can satisfy everyone when you allocate the budget? It is absolutely unrealistic. Think about you. I mean, some of you might have siblings, right? You have a brother or sister. You have siblings. When your father or parents give you money, do you think every time they can balance, like give you money at the same amount they are going to give money to your sibling, your brother and sister? That's unrealistic, right? It's not going to happen. Now, in reality, when a government kind of do this sort of resource allocation, you just simply cannot make sure everyone is happy. It's not gonna happen. It's unrealistic. It's not going to happen, and you cannot achieve or you cannot satisfy everyone. That's the fundamental idea of resource allocation. Now, if that is the system, if that is the case, then what will happen is, as the management, as the manager or an executive, you have to prioritize. You have to prioritize based on the need, based on the strategy you would like to pursue, whether it's a short term survival or long term gain, whether it's a short term achievement, you want to achieve something within a short term, within a short period of time, or you want to sort of play a long term game and you want to kind of achieve in the long run. So that is a kind of a thing you must think about, like what how you want to allocate your resource, what you want to achieve, and how you want to achieve it. Now, when you allocate the resource, when you do this sort of tasks, there is always a situation which will be conflict, because management will come back and the department will come back, and those department will sort of argue with management. Some of the department will come to you and say, look, I'm really not happy, I'm really kind of need more resource. For example, what happened 2 weeks ago in UK. Now, UK government is trying to allocate resources to all of these sort of department, right? They have homeland security, they have welfare, they have roads and transportation, health secretary, they have like lots of department they do have. Now, the defense secretary in UK said, I'm not happy with the budget you allocate for defense. and that is why I'm going to resign. And that guy already resigned. The defense secretary 2 weeks ago in UK resigned, and the prime minister has to appoint someone else as a new defense secretary. Now, why I'm using this example? To show you the conflict is real. You will see this conflict when you will run an organization as well. Some of you are already working. Think about it, like in terms of resource. Like for example, I was searching what is a kind of a great festival in Vietnam, and I think it's Lunar New Year, one of the great festival in Vietnam, right? Is it the Lunar New Year? So that is a festival you enjoy, you celebrate Lunar New Year, right? Guys, why you are not talking? I mean, you can respond to chat box. Yes, yes, perfect. Thanks, Han. So if you have this sort of Lunar New Year, and think about yourself, like you are working in an organization, and suddenly your line manager comes to you and tell you this Lunar New Year, you just simply cannot have a vacation to spend time with your family. Why? They can come to you and say, because we do not have resource, this physical human resource, for example, there is no person who can cover you on when you are not available. There is no human resource or employee who can cover when you will go to a leave. So if that is the case, then the situation is you just simply cannot go for leave. Now, immediately in those sort of situations, the conflict will emerge. You might go back and say, hey, it is a Lunar New Year. I want to spend time with my family. I want to go for a vacation. Why you are saying that I just simply cannot go on leave, or I just simply cannot go for annual leave? The resource you want to allocate to this organization, you have to ensure that there is people who can kind of work when I'm not available. But why you are saying that I cannot go to kind of leave and enjoy the Lunar New Year? Why this is happening? Because of resource misallocation. They have not allocated the resources well, and that is why you are facing this particular conflict. And the conflict can happen between two parties, or maybe sometimes more party, line manager, staff, and other people. I think that is so real. I think in the people who are working, I know some of you are already working, and you can relate like how sometimes your line manager is not accepting the application. Sometimes your line manager, why they are kind of rejecting, like, no, I just simply cannot approve the request you just put in, and it cannot happen. And one of the reason is resource allocation. Now, in those conflict situation, what should you do? Because at the same time, you just simply cannot leave the organization, right? You just simply cannot go to another organization, and then simply cannot kind of resign from your job, because that is not realistic. If that is the case, if that is not realistic, what should you do? Number one, avoidance, for example. Avoidance you can focus on. You can just simply ignore the problem. You can just simply think, well, this year I'm not going to celebrate Lunar New Year with my family because I applied for leave. However, I could not get an opportunity to sort of managing the leave, and I have to work during the Lunar New Year. So I will just simply avoid it. I will simply avoid it, and then I will just keep working. Avoidance. Number two, diffusion. Then you think about, like, no, I deserve a leave during the Lunar New Year. So playing down differences between conflicting party while accentuating similarities and common interest. You need to go to a line manager and speak out. Look, Lunar New Year is for everyone. Why don't both of us go on leave? Why don't both of us celebrate? Let's find a common ground where we can make everyone happy. So let's go for diffusion. Let's do something so that I am happy as an employee, you are happy as an employer, and both of us can work in harmony and be in peace. Idea of diffusion. Number three, confrontation. You can challenge your line manager. I know in Vietnamese culture, confrontation is not so suitable. Normally, you don't do that. You don't confront your line manager or your boss. But in this part of the world, in US or UK, Scandinavian nation, for example, Norway, Finland, in those sort of nation, you can always see the practice of confrontation. So that is number three. You can always confront. Now, the point is, at the end of the day, it has to be a trade-off. If there is any conflict, we just simply cannot say we are not going to work in this organization. We are not going to kind of run this business. No. If you are a business owner, you have to ensure your employees are happy. You have to ensure that you are taking care of your employees. They are working for you. And of course, you are paying them in terms of money, in terms of salary, but you don't own them. Your employer does not own you. It's a transaction you are in. You are working, and that's why you are getting paid. So if that is the situation, at the end of the day, it is the trade-off. You need a trade-off between two parties. You need to kind of think about a trade-off decision you need in terms of your strategy implementation. Now, sometimes trade-offs are not good. Sometimes trade-offs are good, because if the trade-off is, let's say, for example, layoff, you want to kind of go to a furlough, you want to go to a layoff, you want to kind of fire employees, that's not good. That is something we really don't want. But sometimes you really don't have choice, right? So sometimes that can happen. Fran, I can record. Yeah, I can record. That's not a problem. Why don't you ask early? Where is the recording option?
Recording in progress.
Yeah, it's not recording. Yeah. So sometimes you need a trade-off. So once you have this particular trade-off, then you have to ensure that, again, as a owner of the organization, you have to ensure your employees are happy. You really don't want to kind of go to a layoff or furlough. That is the least, the very least option you want to kind of go. Precisely, you want to go for growth. If it is a short-term profit, long-term growth, those are the things you might want to prioritize. Instead of restructuring, you focus more on re-engineering. Later, we are going to explain the restructuring and re-engineering. You want to build a reputation. Those sort of strategy you would like to highlight. You want to build a reputation. You want to kind of go for investment. Those are the things you should prioritize. Yes, and yeah, that's fine. And yeah, please ensure you watch the recording later, and that is fine. So that's the idea of trade-off. You should always sort of consider. You should always sort of think. Now, moving forward. So moving forward about the matching the structure with the strategy. Sometimes you will see you have resource, but you do not have a proper structure. Sometimes you will feel like, yes, I do have. Oh, just bear with me. Sometimes it's Zoom function troubles. So sometimes you will feel like you have a sort of a strategy, but it is not matching the structure. Well, later I'm going to kind of show you the structure as well. Multiple structure we are going to sort of cover. So in terms of organization structure, those are the things I'm going to sort of cover, like functional structure and then metric structure. Those are the things we'll be covered. But you need to sort of understand the structure of the organization has to match with the resource that you want to sort of allocate. Now, in terms of like organizational structure, it is more about the hierarchy, like how many CEOs you need. You need one single CEO for every single strategic business unit. You need, or you go for a general manager who will be the head of a specific division. How you want to design your organization? Is it like too complicated, or is it like too easy to sort of handle? What will be your strategy in terms of designing the structure of an organization? So it's starting with a functional structure. Because when you see a functional structure, it is the most easy, straightforward structure. It is very easy, very straightforward structure, meaning that you don't need to think about complex, you don't need to think about multiple division, you don't need to think about multiple function. It's just one function. Under one function, you have multiple area. I mean, if you look at Netflix organizational structure is an example of functional structure. Here you have one CEO who is the co-founder of Netflix. Under the co-founder, you have chief product officer, you have general counsel and secretary, you have chief marketing officer, chief talent officer, you have someone to look after operation, you have someone to look after the content, you have someone to look after the finance. Very straightforward, functional strategy. Why it is so cool about functional strategy is like when it is time for resource allocation, it is really, it is comparatively really easy in terms of resource allocation because the function is really straightforward. So definitely there are some advantages you are going to enjoy when it is a functional structure. The advantages, because it is very simple, it is inexpensive, for example. You can easily capitalize on that, you can easily allocate the resource, you can easily kind of make decision. Whenever it is time for a decision, you can just make it. So it is really easy, really kind of advantageous when it is a functional structure. Of course, there are some disadvantages as well. Now, let's say, for example, in your final examination, if you see any question which is related to advantage and disadvantages, I repeat, please pay some attention. If you see this type of questions in your final exam, please do not just simply list down advantages and disadvantages. No, listing down maybe just give you a pass mark. If you really want to achieve very high grade, you need to explain the disadvantage or advantage in a real term. Real term meaning when you are talking about, let's say, rapid decision making, and you want to use an example of Netflix, you need to kind of tell me a specific decision, like Netflix want to implement this particular decision and they can really do it really fast because they are a functional structure. I want to hear about a particular decision. You want to kind of tell me those level of sophistication you need to show when you are going to kind of explain this sort of, let's say, this sort of thing. Always use real example as much as you can. The more example you are going to use explaining the theoretical point, the more marks you are going to achieve. Trust me, strategic management, it's not about your memory test. I really don't want to test your memory. I really don't want that. It is not about memory testing. It is more about whether you can apply the theory into context or not, whether you can apply the theory in reality or not. It is all about that. It is not about memory testing. Any question? Where you can get the recording? On the Moodle page. On the Moodle page, I will be able to post it, so don't worry. Is there any other question in this topic, or how to answer questions in your final exam? Any question you want to ask? Anyone? Any question? All right. So let's proceed to divisional. Now, divisional, it is a sort of expansion of functional. If you read, functional activities are performed both centrally and each separate division. So, from a chief executive officer, region 1, 2, 3, and shared device, maybe it is a function. However, under every region, there are functions as well. So you have layer, after one layer, you have a separate layer. So it's a layer over a layer. In those sort of situation, it's a divisional structure. So divisional structure, on the other hand, you can also say it's a combinations of multiple structure. That is a sort of a divisional sort of structure. Your background is really kind of crazy. You have one man behind you. Look at the background Thu is using. That's crazy. For some moment, I thought of there is a ghost behind you. Yeah, I thought of a kind of, because that guy looked like a kind of a ghost. I mean, look at the background Thu is using. That's absolutely crazy. Yeah, but never mind. That's fine. So right. Now, if we sort of proceed with divisional structure, so think about it. Divisional structure, it is a sort of it is a divisional structure. It is a sort of a combination of multiple functions, but at the same time, think about it. Most of the time, this divisional structure is followed by international organization. International organization, those are not so complex, because they are not so complex, but at the same time, they want to sort of operate in multiple regions, because there is another format available, which is metrics, which is very much MNC, but that will come. But divisional structure is sort of international division, let's put it this way. This is a sort of international division if it is operating in multiple countries. So you have country 1, country 2, or country 3, because let's say your organization is operating in multiple nations. So you can think of Chanel, for example, as a divisional structure. They are only in perfume business, and they have this perfume in multiple countries, and this particular business, they are in fashion business. They have bags and other leather products. So they sort of want to run a sort of a divisional structure, and following a divisional structure, they can operate in multiple nations. So simple is that. So that is about your divisional structure. And of course, there are sort of advantages and disadvantages when you are thinking about a divisional structure. Most of the advantages you are going to enjoy is like accountability is clear. Why accountability is clear? For example, this sales and marketing head, this guy is only responsible to the head of the region. That person is not responsible to the chief executive officer, who is the head of the organization. No. Product development officer is only responsible to region head, or logistic officer is only responsible to region head. That's it. They are not responsible to the chief executive officer. That's how the divisional structure works. So accountability is clear, promote delegation of authority, because at some point when you have a division structure, these region heads, they also have like significant amount of power, because they have significant amount of power, and that's how they sort of want to exercise that particular power. They want to ensure that their region or their department, they can sort of they sort of kind of run smoothly, and they are responsible for that. So that's the benefit of like divisional structure. So in your final exam, if you see any question related to structure, again, you need to make your notes before you go for exam, like which particular organization you want to talk about. If you want to answer divisional structure, or if you want to answer functional structure, you have to kind of made your mind like, this is the organization I'm going to choose, this is the organization I'm going to sort of talk about, and this is how I'm going to sort of explain the advantages and disadvantages that that the company is sort of enjoying, or in terms of disadvantage, the company sort of facing. So you have to make your mind. One of the disadvantage, for example, it can be very costly. It can be super costly. It can be expensive running businesses in multiple nations. Of course, it will generate significant amount of profit for your organization because you are operating globally, but the expenses are higher as well. Duplication of functional activities, that's one of the disadvantage. Duplication, like for example, region 1 you have sales and marketing, and region 2 you have also sales and marketing. It is a duplication. You can always argue these are happening in two different regions. Yes, these are happening in two different regions, but again, it's a duplication. For example, product development. Now, for example, Apple Corporation, the product development will not work in multiple regions. No, all of the product development can only happen in the US. They are responsible for the R&D. They always take care of R&D. They always take care of like the product development kind of a thing. They're always responsible for the new iPhone, new Apple MacBook, or any device Apple produce. They don't have product development. So Apple eliminate this particular product development replication or duplication, for example, in region. For example, in Vietnamese region, they only focus on production. They don't focus on product development. The R&D can take place in Singapore alongside US. That's it. But they are operating in Europe, they are operating in UK, they are operating in other Asian countries, including Australia, New Zealand. They don't have product development there. But if you think of Unilever, let's say, on Nestle, for example, they do have duplication in terms of every functional, under every functional sort of a region. So the point I'm trying to explain, yes, you have to talk about advantage, you have to talk about disadvantage, but you need to justify as well. Yes, it is a disadvantage. However, do we have any option, a better option? Is there any way we can sort of mitigate this particular disadvantage? Is there any way we can kind of come up with a strategy which will help us in terms of mitigate the risks of a particular disadvantage or something like that? So all of those sort of conversation should come in your explanation. I mean, guys, you see, you have 2 hours of exam. Every single question, which is 25 marks. So, and strategic management is a last year. Most of you will be graduating after this semester or maybe soon. Now, the point I'm trying to say, you are not a first year student. You have to show significant amount of maturity when you will be answering the question. So that is critical. So please, try to be critical as much as you can. Don't just list down. List down will not give you significant amount of marks. You have to ensure you critically analyze, you compare, you justify. And as I said during my class, during my visit when I was in Vietnam, it is not about right or wrong. It is more about how you justify. Sometimes maybe the proposition, the strategy you are proposing, sometimes maybe that is not 100% correct. However, if you can justify your reasoning, then that's fine. I'm more than happy to accept that. I really want to see your critical mentality. I really want to see how critically you can think, how critically you can kind of argue the points. That is something I want to see in your assignment. That is something I want to see in your final exam. It is not about memorizing, just you memorize and vomit in your exam. No. It is more about how you analyze a strategy of a real organization and how critically you can challenge the strategy as well and propose some solution as well. Make sense, guys? At least nod your head. If it makes sense, you can move your head at least. I mean, if you don't want to kind of type something. That's why, like, it is really boring. I hate online classes, trust me. I hate online classes because most of the time it's just me talking in front of a monitor. But I thank all of you, at least like Bolton or Greater Manchester, they made a rule that all of you have to ensure the webcam is on. So at least I can see some faces. It is not that boring. I can see your faces and I can at least communicate. But I love in-person class. I always love in-person class because that's how you sort of enjoy the class. That's how you feel it, right? Studying in your room and with a device, it's boring. It's really boring for me. But yeah, let's proceed. Let's proceed further. Now, the strategic business unit. This particular strategic business unit, it can be functional, divisional, mixture of both. Sometimes a strategic business unit can be completely a separate business under an umbrella. For example, if you think there is a company called Berkshire Hathaway owned by Warren Buffett in US. Now Berkshire Hathaway, that's a real estate company. They invest in terms of real estate. They manufacture buildings, facilities, all those stuff. However, they are in multiple businesses as well. They do have electrical businesses. They do have mining businesses. Those are separate strategic business unit under one umbrella. In other way, to understand a strategic business unit is like the group is one, but the strategic business unit is not doing exactly what is the company is doing. Like for example, Apple Corporation, you see most of the region, Apple do the similar activity. They sell iPhone, they sell MacBook, and that's it. Same activity everywhere. But Berkshire Hathaway, it's not the same. In US, they are real estate, but they own another company, maybe that is doing artificial intelligence in Singapore. Now that artificial intelligence company, for example, in Singapore is a separate strategic business unit. Now the question is, who is the owner? It's Berkshire Hathaway. But under Berkshire Hathaway, when there are companies owned by Berkshire Hathaway doing something completely different can be a strategic business unit. So groups similar division into strategic business unit delegates authority responsibility for each unit to a senior executive who report directly to the chief executive officer. So similar division, for example, software division, artificial intelligence division, and multiple division, those are the division can come together, create a strategic business unit. Like under Berkshire Hathaway, who is the real estate, there is a software division who generate revenue selling software services or selling intellectual thing. For example, they can come together, create a strategic business unit. That particular strategic business unit can report to Warren Buffett, the previous CEO, for example, of Berkshire Hathaway, under the same head, but completely separate sort of tasks they're doing. Can facilitate strategy implementation by improving coordination between similar division, challenging accountability to distinct strategic business unit. A distinct business unit. Do you understand the concept of a strategic business unit? For example, if you look at Sonoco, the name of the company, you have one chief executive officer, you have multiple people under the chief executive officer, then you have industrial product, you have consumer product. These are two separate things under one company. Industrial product, that is a strategic business unit. Consumer product, that is another strategic business unit. Two separate strategic business unit doing two different sort of tasks, doing two different activities. However, they report to one umbrella. So the umbrella is here. They report to one umbrella, and that is the chief executive officer. Do you understand? Do you understand the concept of a strategic business unit? Now, why these things are important, why these concepts are really, really important, think about the very first class, strategy formulation. You just simply cannot have one size fit all strategy for every single strategic business unit. No, you can't do that. Think about resource allocation. You just simply cannot have a sort of you just simply cannot have one single sort of resource allocation strategy for all of your strategic business unit. No, you can't do that. Make sense, guys? Any question? Any question, guys? All right, so now we are almost halfway. Let's go for 15-20 minutes break. Let's go for 20 minutes break. Now UK time is 11:25. What is the Vietnamese time at the moment? What is the Vietnamese time? 17:24, like 5:30. So 5:24 or 5:25. Please come back at 5:45. Please come back at 5:45. Go to washroom. Yes, no, I can see you are feeling sleepy. So yeah, go freshen up. You are yawning. So go freshen up. You don't need to leave. You can just kind of you can leave your webcam on. You can just go take a walk, freshen up, and after 20 minutes we will continue the structure matrix. Let me stop the recording, and then we will kind of do the resume the recording again. So let's
Recording stopped.
And we will resume it. So go for like 20 minutes break, and we will then continue. You don't need to leave. Why you are leaving? Don't need to leave the Zoom. We are not done yet. So don't leave. And yes, please come back at 5:45. Your time, yeah.